Welcome to the Gyrl podcast. I'm Kyra Mitchell Lewis, and thank you for joining. Hope everyone is doing well. I hope your week is going good. Today, I'll be joined by Leslie Davis. Leslie helps her clients to learn to love themselves more and understand how they can overcome the roadblocks they encounter in their daily lives. So stay tuned, everyone. I'll be right back with Leslie. Welcome back to the Gyrl podcast. I'm Kyra. All right, now I'm excited to welcome in Leslie to the Gyrl podcast. So welcome, Leslie, to the show.
Well, Kyra, thank you so much for letting me have the opportunity to talk to you. The message that you bring is so amazing and so needed today, and I appreciate that.
So much. Well, before we dive into our chat today, why don't you tell the audience listening or watching out there who you are and what you do?
Well, about almost 2 years ago now, I published a book called You Can't Eat Love. And the book is talking about how I learned to love myself and changed my relationship with food. And as a consequence, was able to not only lose, but keep off almost 100 pounds. But that was the easy part. The hard part was learning to love myself and to realize that even though I thought no one loved me, really the only person who didn't love me was me. And so creating that relationship with me and appreciating what an amazing person I am was the hard part of the journey. And now I help other people. I do one-on-one and group coaching with other people to help them learn how to love themselves and change their relationship with whatever their drug of choice is.
Awesome. Well, congratulations, number one.
Oh, thank you.
And I think, I think everything you said is like so important, because the thing you said, that you realized that the only person that didn't love you was you, that is so meaty.
And it's the truth.
Yeah. And it's so many people, struggle with that, not knowing, because they think we just sort of have this perception of, you have the perception that only through the lens that you view, which is to think that people don't, or no one could love me because of this or that. And in reality, like you said, it's redefining that relationship that you have with yourself in order to find that space of love for you. And then, of course, then you're going to be open and you're going to be receiving of that love that others have to give.
100%, because part of what I discovered is while I was seeking from other people that which I was simply missing inside of myself, I was draining other people and I was not filling myself, because we really cannot receive what we are not able to give. And if I couldn't give my own self-love, well, then how in the heck was I ever going to get enough from anybody else? And this really starts applying. You look at it, it starts applying in every aspect of your life, from your relationships to your work to, everything. It applies everywhere, because I came to understand if I was struggling to believe I wasn't enough, there was no way I was ever going to receive enough.
Right.
And when I started recognizing, you know what, I'm an amazing person. I'm enough just where I am today. Tomorrow I'm going to be someplace different. But today I'm enough right here. Well, then my need, my drive to get from other people, from other sources, started releasing itself.
I love that. That's great. Because I think you said something else that's really important, I think, for people to like sit with, is that today I am enough. But also giving yourself that grace and opportunity to know that tomorrow could be different. You could change. You could be in a different place, but then also knowing that, today you're enough, tomorrow you will be too.
Yeah, 100%. And I tell, that you hear the expression, practice makes perfect. We're looking for perfect progress and all this stuff. And I came to understand, no, progress makes progress. and practice makes progress. We are not striving for perfection. Give up on that.
Yeah.
And that's one of those voices that's coming at you from your childhood. And that's something that I work with people on. Whose voice is it that you're really hearing?
Right.
When you start telling yourself that you're not enough or you're incapable of, whose voice is it you're really hearing? Because if we can accept and acknowledge that progress is progress, and it doesn't make any difference how much progress it is, just imagine what we can do next.
Right. Yep. I love that. It's very powerful.
Thank you.
I love that you do refer to sort of these obstacles that, as roadblocks that we encounter. So like, I like to think about, of course, when I, was reading and looking at your information, like I saw and thought immediately, like being on, the interstate or something, or driving my car and, there's a roadblock, which means it's not there forever. I mean, the roadblock is just temporary. So how do you define roadblocks that people encounter in their daily lives?
Well, to just back up a tiny bit, the way that I came up with the concept is I live just south of I-10, the Katy Freeway. I don't know if you live next to a major interstate, but anyway, you're bound to have been in a traffic jam at one point or another. And people would ask me, well, how do you keep moving forward? And I like to talk in stories. So I would say, when you're on the freeway, when you're on the Katy Freeway and you hit a traffic jam, what do you do? And they said, well, I sit there, I call a friend, I change the radio station, something like that. I said, oh, you don't park your car, you don't get out, and you don't walk home? And they said, well, no, that'd be crazy. I said, so why are you doing that in these other journeys of your life? And the roadblocks we can run into, let's say, for example, if we're working to lose weight, the roadblocks we can run into and we can anticipate are parties, family gatherings, a holiday, a weekend, or even the middle of the week and you don't feel like fixing dinner. These are all roadblocks that we can encounter. You also can probably easily list some people that will set you off. And then you start looking for relief. Those are roadblocks. Anything that is going to detour you or stop you from what your goal and objective is a roadblock. And if we look at it as what it is, just a roadblock, and as you said, temporary, and we can make choices in that moment, but not only can we make choices, and I talk about this in the book, practice. Start identifying where those roadblocks are going to show up. Identify the sabotagers. Identify the people and the events that are going to derail you. And start practicing and planning for those things. And that really applies, to your finances, to your business, to anything. Facebook. If your objective is to reach out and email 10 of your clients and tell them how amazing they are, and you get distracted by Facebook, well, that was a roadblock because it kept you from moving your business forward, right? Amazon can derail your finances, right? So we can find roadblocks in every aspect of our life. And the thing is, we know where they are. Let's identify them. Let's practice. Let's plan so that we know how we're going to handle them when we get there. But here's the magic. Remember, we talked about practice makes progress, and we talked about progress making progress. You don't have to be perfect. Make your plan, execute your plan to the best of your ability in that moment, and you'll see that you're making progress. We're not looking for perfect.
Yes, I love that. And I love identifying those triggers like early on, because you have to do that. If you don't, I mean, that alone, the example you gave, like, yes, if you're trying to lose weight and you've got a party coming up, then you have to essentially plan differently. Or maybe it is like just trying to, telling yourself that, I know there's going to be a lot of this type of food there, and I don't want to partake in that. Or maybe you have like the one day where you sort of, I guess, have a day where you like allow for yourself to eat things cheat day. So
Well, don't
maybe
call it
it's
a cheat day. Hold on. Don't call it a
okay,
cheat day
okay,
because you can
okay,
only cheat 3 ways. There are only 3 ways you can cheat on test, taxes, and your significant other.
okay.
But you can make a choice, and there are only three
Uh-huh.
choices. There are good choices, great choices, and not so
Hmm.
good choices. But you
Hmm.
know that there's a party coming. You know that the person prepares amazing food. You know that
Hmm.
you enjoy the food.
Hmm.
You know it's going to be a struggle if you're telling yourself you can't have. Okay. So what
Right.
you do is you make a plan. Okay,
Hmm.
I'm going to have a little of everything that I enjoy. And if I want seconds, I'm going to have seconds.
Right. Yeah.
And on some of those things, if I want thirds, I will have thirds. You see,
Yeah.
you've made a plan,
Hmm.
right? And then
Yeah.
when you walk out of the party, if, for example, you passed on the thirds of whatever it was, or you passed on the seconds of half the stuff,
Hmm.
celebrate that. Look at me. I am amazing. I did this. Or if you walk out of the party and you realize that you had seconds on the things that you planned to, you had thirds on the things that you planned to, celebrate that too.
Hmm.
I made a plan. I followed
Hmm.
my plan. But
Hmm.
watch the words that you're using. And like I said, no cheating. Make a choice. It's a choice. It's not cheating.
Awesome. I like that. So, yeah. So, as long as you are making a plan to deal with the potential triggers
Right.
that may come, then you should be good and you can celebrate. I think when you go into something, because, like, I mean, a lot of people are trying to like manage, watch your weight, manage your weight. And I would always do that. Like if I knew this event was coming up and I was tell myself like, oh, I'm going to eat at that party. I'm going to have these things because I know that they're going to have some foods I like. So I'm already putting this out today and saying that it's okay so that when I go there, I don't feel bad. I don't leave being upset at myself because it was already in the plan for me to do this anyway.
100%. Well, and the other thing is that I came to recognize how many times do you go to that same party and you tell yourself, I'm only going to have one slice of cake and I'm not going to have any pie.
Mm-hmm.
And you end up having one of each. And then
Mm-hmm.
you leave that party and you're beating yourself up. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I ate all that. And I'm not even going to fill your head with all the words because you know them. But
Yeah.
instead of doing that, say, you know what? You did the best that you could. I'm really proud of you because you did better than you did before. And, this is practice. We are practicing.
Yeah.
And next time you will be able to make a different choice because you will have practiced. So we
Yes.
celebrate everything. We find the good, even if in our old self, we would have been beating ourselves up. Stop
Mm-hmm.
beating yourself up.
Yep. Yeah. And give yourself some grace. I mean, I
Yeah,
always say you got to give
100%.
yourself. Yep. Now, why is it important to recognize roadblocks as just that and not stop the stop sign?
Well, the main thing is understand that it's just a moment. If you can take a breath when you hit that roadblock, if you can take a breath and say, okay, what is my way around this? Or am I just going to have to sit here for a few minutes? Can I change the radio station? And by changing the radio station, I mean change the thoughts that you've got running through your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Can I phone a friend? Okay, can you change the activities that you're doing? Can
Mm-hmm.
you maybe, add a minute to your walk or even walk 1 minute? Can you adjust some of the foods that you're eating? Start looking at them as being not a concrete wall that extends 50 feet up in the air that's, sheer and you have no way of climbing. Look at it for what it is. It's simply a temporary stop, just like that traffic jam you run into on the freeway. It's not the be all to end all. This too will pass if you take a breath, you look at it for what it is. And then oftentimes what I end up needing to do is grabbing pen and paper and asking myself this one simple question. What is really going on right now? Because a lot of times the roadblocks that we run into are roadblocks that we build ourselves. And if we will ask ourselves what is really going on right now, and we start writing, well, right now, you know what? I'm really angry because my husband for the thousandth time did not put his dishes into the dishwasher in spite of it being empty, and he expects me to do it. Or my kids didn't pick up their clothes or their toys, and here I am having to pick it up. And now I'm standing here in the pantry, and the only thing that looks good is that entire bag of Hershey's Kisses. Those are roadblocks, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So let's listen to ourselves as to what is really going on.
Awesome. I like that. What, Leslie, would you say would be a first step to learning to love ourselves so that we don't give up, but we are able to, like you just talked about, we're able to push through those roadblocks?
Well, the thing that I recommend that people start with is where I started, and this is where I came to the realization and understanding of not loving myself, and where I started building the relationship with myself. Get a notebook and a pen. Doesn't have to be a fancy notebook, doesn't have to be a fancy pen. And each day, start having a conversation with yourself. And you can start off by asking yourself, how am I feeling right now? Or ask yourself, is there anything I need to talk to myself about? Or what's really going on right now? And then start writing that conversation. Write down how you're really feeling. Write down what you really want to do. Write down everything. Be honest with yourself. A couple of months ago, I was really angry with somebody. Oh my gosh, I was so angry. And I started writing in my notebook. I write every single morning. I write 3 pages in my notebook. I use the 6x8 notebooks. I don't use the big 11.5 by. Anyway, I was writing. I said, I don't really want to write about this. And I went, wait a minute, hold on. Who are you trying to lie to? And I even wrote that. I even wrote, who are you trying to lie to? And I was like, oh, yeah, right. Okay, so this is what I'm really angry about. And this is what I would really like to do to this person. Now, this is what I'm really going to do. And, work those things out. Because what I came to understand, like we were talking about at the very beginning, I wanted to be heard. And so many of us want to be heard. And so we tend to word vomit on other people. Well, who is it that doesn't care if you're talking for the 9 millionth time about how your friend over there, made some snide remark about your shoes, right? Or who doesn't care if at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're going over the same argument? Your very best friend in the whole wide world. And that's you. You are always available to you. So start building that relationship with you, because when you start giving to you what you are desiring, then you will be able to receive from other people.
Awesome. Love that. And earlier you mentioned, as we start to talk about like things you could do when you encounter the roadblocks, you mentioned self-talk, which is really important as to how we talk to ourselves. How can people, how can changing our self-talk also change our life and how we see ourselves?
Well, the words that we speak have such power because, you've heard the self-fulfilling prophecy and all that kind of thing. If people have been telling us either that we should be ashamed or how can you be so stupid or all those things, we start speaking that way to ourselves. Well, you can't love yourself when you're speaking that way to yourself. So what I started doing was I started catching those thoughts that were going through my head. I'm not saying I didn't have them. I'm not saying I don't still have them. But the difference between then and now is I can catch them. And as soon as I catch that thought, I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. Let's reframe that thought. Okay, for example, what did I do the other day? Oh, I slammed the dishwasher door on my finger. Oh my gosh, that hurt. And I started to say, how could you be so dumb? And I was like, wait. You were thinking about something else. Your hand was not where you usually put it. You shut the dishwasher door. It happens. It happens. So if we can start catching those thoughts and reframing them, because we want to elevate ourselves. Remember, we're starting to learn to love ourselves. But part of loving ourselves is speaking to ourselves kindly. encouraging words, words that we believe in ourselves. And all of that negative self-talk, all it does is pull us down. It drains us. It's like having a bucket with a giant hole in the bottom of it. You're never going to be filled up. So let's start catching our thoughts. And it takes practice. I mean, I've been doing it now since 2016. So I've got 6 years of practice, but still I mess up. And you know what? That's okay. Remember, practice makes progress, and all we're looking for is progress, not perfection. But the words that you say to yourself are so important because they will drive your next action. Because if you are saying to yourself, I always fall off of my diet, I always eat whatever, I always, or I never can stick to a diet. But of course you don't, because you don't believe you can, you don't believe you will. So instead say, you know something, I start changing my lifestyle and I struggle with that, but you know, that's okay. And then we can move forward. I'm on a one-person mission to fire the hamsters that run around on the wheels inside of our heads, send them all back to the pet market so they go out of business.
I like that. Yes. Like stop. Yeah. I can always see that hamster in the wheel. And anytime I feel like I'm on a path where it's like, I'm like, no, that's just insanity. Like I am just doing the same thing and you're expecting something different. And it's not going to, because the hamsters is gonna that hamster is gonna keep going in that wheel because it's all they know. And
100%.
yeah, and it's like I have to make a different take a different action. I really love the first step that you provided there. It's really amazing because you're right. There's so many things in like writing. Like I love journaling and I love putting my thoughts on paper, and I think like that's so important for people to be able to like capture how you feel in that moment, but then also like you said, the affirming of ourselves. And I think like even if you have to do something to where like you've got a bunch of sticky notes and you put them up in the bathroom, you put them up in the office, wherever you go, but you're always affirming yourself and telling you how great you are, because you are, you know, like that's the first thing. And I mean, I know we all have moments where you like, I like the example of just even as simple as it sounded with the dishwasher. But we all do that. I mean, you could like drop something, you're like, oh man, I mean, I'm so dumb. Like, how did I drop that? I always, and you're so right. Just something that small of just being able to look at, oh, well, my mind was here. I was thinking about this meeting that I have coming up and I didn't grasp it, you know, underneath where I should have. And it's like giving yourself that grace.
Yeah, 100%. And as you said, you know, I discovered that I need to be affirming myself, because before I had been looking outside for other people to give me what I was wanting. And let me tell you a secret. It doesn't make any difference how clear you are to the other person about what you want them to say, how you want them to say it, how you want them to move, how you want them to look. I mean, you can plot it down to the tiniest of details, as if you're writing a movie script. You will be disappointed.
Yeah.
Because they are not going to do something right. So in realizing that the best place to get your affirmations is from yourself, you will never disappoint yourself. And I love that you said, put up sticky notes, put notes. If you could see my desk, I've got all these notes all over the place. In fact, my most recent one that I added is I can, with an exclamation point. I don't need anyone but me to believe in me.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
You know, if we get used to affirming ourselves, then we're not looking for it from the outside. And when we are disappointed on the outside is when we start turning to the things that we need in order to stop the pain, which is often where people turn to their drug of choice, which for a lot of us is food. And people may be shocked to hear that food is a drug of choice. Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is.
You're running from something when you are, doing that. But to recognize I can give myself everything I need, and I no longer need to be searching for it from the outside. Think about the strength of your relationships that you can then build. because you're not being a parasite on somebody else. But here's the other thing. Do not allow somebody to be a parasite to you.
Right.
Build a
Yeah.
boundary, a healthy
Mhm.
boundary. And
Yes.
we teach people how to treat us, and they learn that by how we are treating ourselves.
That is so, that's so true. That is so true. I mean, it definitely is true. I mean, you do. I mean, I love that you talk about like being, replenishing, because like if no one's pouring into you and people are just always depleting, taking from you, I mean, you're going to, you don't have enough left for yourself. You don't have enough left to, when you want to like help someone, you can't, because you've got nothing. And it is important to, with our most, our family and our friends are, the sort of like number one suckers of the people who can suck sort of that energy from you. And it's so funny. I was just talking to my therapist this morning, and I was telling the story about something about boundaries, and just saying like how, for me, I'm like, how it's just so important. Like when people come, I don't mind giving, friendly advice, or I don't mind helping someone, but like after a while, like it can't be on repeat all the time where we're having the same conversation and I'm helping you with the same thing, because at some point it's like, I'm introducing you to a tool that I have, which is therapy, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe you could benefit from this. And then, so it's just like take that and go with it, because you can't always come back and just keep asking that person like the same thing. Oh, well, can you help me with this? And oh, I was just wondering. And after a while, it just gets to be, it's too much. It can be overwhelming for that person.
Well, and resentment starts building
Mm-hmm.
because the person is either taking or giving, and
Mm-hmm.
resentment starts building. But also expectations are created. So it's one of the things that I started recognizing is I had no boundaries, but I had grown up believing I couldn't have boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Mm-hmm.
something I was not allowed to have. And for women, a lot of societal norms are that we don't get to have boundaries.
Right.
Okay. So in recognizing that I needed to create boundaries, but the first boundary I needed was with myself,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
what ended up starting to happen is it threw my husband off kilter, because he's like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I like it. And I hadn't shared anything with him about anything that I was doing. I was simply doing, because like I talk about in the book, I didn't want the quote unquote diet or therapy police, to show up. Right. I didn't need them. But when we are clear about what we are willing to give ourselves and what we are willing to receive from ourselves, then we are able to, with kindness, say to that person who comes to us on repeat, you know what, would you like for me to write it down for you this time? And that way you don't have to keep asking me about it. Or would you like for me to give you some reference material that you can look it up so you can go a little bit more in depth? Or, you know what, what do you remember from the last time that we talked about this? And let's see if we can clear this up.
Yeah.
But you see, that way you're taking care of yourself. And you're saying to the other person, you need to start standing on your 2 feet, but you're doing it in a way that's kind, and they don't recognize that you're saying to them, look, I'm sick and tired of you asking me this question.
Yeah.
I wish that you could figure it out. It seems to me that you're really lazy. So get your act together.
Yeah. I'm going to help you for the last time, get your act together.
Yes, 100%. Because isn't that really what you want to say?
Yeah. Yeah. With love. With love.
Yeah, with love. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. Okay, well, why don't you tell us just a little bit more about the programs that you offer if someone is listening and wants to know more about how they can work with you?
Well, the main thing that I offer is helping people learn how to love themselves and changing their relationship with food so that they can understand the role that food is playing in not addressing their emotions. I help people learn to name their emotions, sit in their emotions, but learn to love themselves through that process. And the best way to find anything out about me, including reaching out to me if you would like to work with me or just have a conversation, is my website, which is youcan'teatlove.com. And I will answer each and every email. I've had people say, are you a real person? Are you a virtual assistant? No, it's me, just me.
It's just Leslie. Awesome. Well, all right. I have so enjoyed this conversation with you today, Leslie. And before I let you go, I've got two more short segments here we're going to walk through. Three things with Leslie is next. So I'm going to ask you three questions and just help our audience get to know a little bit more about you as well. My first question is, it's a double, how do you start and end the day?
I start my day with, I have 4 books where I read some affirmations, some Bible verses. Then I read 2 verses in the Bible. I read a proverb for the day. I read a psalm of the day. The first of the month, I read a chapter of Ecclesiastes. Mm-hmm. And then I write 3 pages in my notebook. That's how I begin my day. I end my day with telling God, thank you so much for this day. I really appreciate everything you've done for me. I love you, God. And then I go to sleep. And that's how I end my day.
Awesome. Love that.
Not very dramatic.
No, I mean, look, you started and ended, in my opinion, in the best way.
Oh, thank you.
So I have a similar process. If you are someone who sets a goal or intention for yourself, what's one thing you've set for yourself this year in 2022?
This year in 2022, I set for myself to get a book called Zombie Siege, written and published, and it is written and published. Zombie Siege, How a Queen, a Princess, and a Prince Saved the World. It's based on Facebook posts that I created back when the pandemic started. Anyway, I did that, but I have all kinds of other mini goals that I work on all the time. But the main thing that I do is I reward myself when I make big steps. So anytime I accomplish something, I have a reward. In fact, this morning I said, oh my goodness, you actually got a closet all straightened up and cleaned up and you haven't given yourself a reward. And I was like, so I'm going to go later today and get myself a new lipstick to reward myself for having gotten that closet all straightened out. Because if we can reward the behavior that we want to continue and ignore the behavior we want to stop, it's much easier to keep moving forward.
Yes, I agree with you. Where can people find your books?
The books are on Amazon, or you can go to my website, youcan'teatlove.com, and all the books are on the website. But if you just go to Amazon, even Barnes and Noble has part of the books, but all the books are on Amazon and my website.
Okay, awesome. And last question is, what is one thing you would tell your younger self?
I would tell my younger self that you have everything that you need and that you are enough just as you are right now. And that, I'm sorry, I'm getting all choked up over this because I was choking up when I was reading it earlier. I would tell myself that you don't need anything from anybody else, and just believe in you and don't let anybody stop your dreams.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. And our last segment what would you like? What are 3 things you'd like for the audience to take away from our conversation today?
The first thing I would like for them to take care of is to accept, to believe that right now, today, you are enough, just exactly as you are. And if you cannot believe that for yourself, I will believe it for you until you're able to believe it for yourself. The second thing is, meet your very best friend in the whole wide world. And how do you do that? Get a pen, get paper, start having a conversation with yourself, start being honest about your feelings, start being honest about what you really want to do, what you want to dream, what you want to achieve, and have that conversation and get really comfortable with your very best friend in the whole wide world, because that person is never going to leave you. And third, understand that there are going to be traffic jams and roadblocks in your life. And if we can start planning and preparing and write those things down, and start making preparations for how you're going to deal with them when you get to them, and then celebrate how you dealt with it, how well or how not so well you dealt with it. Celebrate that you dealt with it, and then move on and prepare for the next one.
Fantastic. I love those. Thank you so much. Well, thank you again. This was a great conversation. Lots of nuggets and so many great tips that just help us to feel more, solid at the core of who we are and to love ourselves and just to really think about how we can. I love that it's a big part of like addressing your like roadblocks is being able to plan for your roadblocks and being able to identify those triggers. So thank you so much for all the good tips.
Well, thank you. And you keep inspiring the world, okay? Because you're doing an amazing job.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, stay tuned, everyone. I'll be right back. Back to the Glow Up Girl podcast. I'm Kyra. Thanks again to Leslie for joining the show today. If you'd like to learn more about Leslie and her programs, check out the links in the show notes. If you'd like to learn more about Glow Up Girl, visit us at glowupgirl.com. You can check out past podcast episodes, sign up to be a guest on the show, grab our social links, and so much more. I hope you all are also checking out our career-focused podcast episodes as well. It is where I share my personal journey relating to my career. These episodes are great for anyone who is looking to understand their strengths, elevate in their career, or perhaps pivot in their career journeys. You can listen to those episodes at glowupgirl.com or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast platform. Thanks again to everyone for joining me. Thank you all for the support, and I'll see you again next week. Until then, stay focused, fab, and glow up. Take care, everyone.